Now that you have some experience with extracting views, it's time to try this out on your own. Your challenge is to extract 3 more views. First, create a slider label text view that will be used for the styled text to the left and right of the slider. Second, create a slider view that contains the H-stack, the slider, and its labels. Third, create a Hit Me button view that contains the styled Hit Me button. By the time you're done, the body of your content view should look as simple as this. That's much easier to read and to understand, isn't it? All right, now pause the video and give this a shot. If you get stuck, don't worry, you can keep watching for the solution. Let's start by reviewing the views we're trying to extract here. We're first trying to extract this view right here, which we're going to call slider label text. Then we're going to extract this view right here, which we're going to call slider view. And then finally, we're going to extract this monstrosity right here, which we're going to call the Hit Me button. Let's start with this area right here, which we're going to call slider label text. So we've been putting all of our text views in textviews.swift. This time, to save some time, I'm just going to copy that big number text, paste it. We're going to call this slider label text. All right, we'll go back to contentview.swift, copy that bit right there. Go back to our text views, paste that in there. But instead of hard coding 1, we're going to put in text, like so. Now we can go back to contentview.swift and replace this with slider label text 1, and then copy this and replace that bit with 100. All right, and let's refresh our preview to make sure we don't break anything. Option Command P. All right, and it's still looking good. Next up, we want to move these lines here into a slider view.swift. All right, so let's again go down here, copy this one since it's an example, and we'll name it to slider view. Now, what do we need as parameters this time? Let's look at the code again. This doesn't use the game. Instead, it uses the slider value. So to save time, I'm going to copy that bit right there and paste it. I'm going to leave the other one just temporarily as a reference. You see here, we don't want to use a state because the source of truth is already in there. We don't want to use a binding instead. So instead, we use binding. We don't want to put private var slider value, and we don't need to set it to an initial value, but we do need to say what type it is, which is a double. Now I can delete that other one. I just left that there as a reference real quick. And now here we can put what we're actually trying to move over, which is these lines of code. So let me copy that and paste it in. Okay, that's it. Now we can go back to here, delete all of that line of code, and use our new slider view. And it takes in the slider value. And I'll refresh the preview with Option Command P, and everything's still looking good. All right, so we just have one thing left, which is the Hit Me button. So again, we're going to take just the most recent one as an example here, just to save a little bit of typing, and we'll rename this to Hit Me button. What properties does this one need? Let's see what button view uses. Well, it uses alert is visible, it uses slider value, and it uses game. So basically it uses all of our state variables here, and we got to convert these to bindings. So again, the general process is we don't want to use @state, we want to use binding. We don't need private. We don't want to set them to initial value. Instead, we just want to say what they are. So the first one is a bool, the second one is a double, and the third one is a game. Get rid of that. All right, and then for the body, we can just take all of this button code in. So let's just make sure we got it lined up right. So we want it from button all the way down to the end of this alert. And I cut that all out of there. And then you can paste in the code from earlier. And up top, I can just now call Hit Me button, passing in all those variables. Finally, you test that it works with Option Command P. The previews still show up great, but now our code is extremely nice and clean to read, and better yet, we can start reusing some of these controls in other areas of our app. Oh, actually, I just realized here, I never tested out the slider label text here, so let me go ahead and add that in. And you can see here, now it shows up in the preview, so we can test it locally before we start reusing it in other areas of the app.